The year was 2010. Jersey Shore was my favorite show.
Yo, shut your mouth, you dirty little hamster.
You look like Popeye on crack.
YouTube was at its golden era.
Had your kids, had your wife.
Adele was rolling in the deep. I was a senior in high school and I just started making my very first YouTube channel.
Diego, my friend, thinks that I'm posting stuff on YouTube, so I guess I should. To be legitimate.
I had just started taking my artwork seriously at this point, and I was consumed with making new artwork. And I only had less than a year before I would enroll in school for artwork, so I really had to bust it out. And for my senior class, I created this piece. And honestly, it's not bad. You know, I was a kid, I didn't know what I was doing. This was my literal first acrylic painting. I don't know if you guys can tell, but that is a painting of none other than myself. Obviously, things have changed since then. I have a decade of experience under my belt. I have been doing YouTube for 3 years now, full time, have a degree. So in honor to bring in the new decade, why not repaint myself 10 years later and see the difference? And of course, as always, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, join the revolution. We have a lot of fun videos coming up in 2019. I meant 2020. I meant 2020. Now this painting was for school. It was a class project on self-portraits, and we used acrylic paint and tempera. But now, a decade later, you guys know I am not a fan of acrylic. And now, in the new decade, I am a fan of oil paint. It has changed my life, and I haven't looked back since. And as you can tell, this was made with canvas, which now in the new decade, I like to use panel and gesso board, something with a hard surface that can take a beating. That's what she said. Now, if you couldn't tell from my past video clips, I really did look like this. Black eyeliner, thin eyebrows, and bored with the world. That's how I saw myself, and that's how I painted myself. Now, in 2019/2020, my fashion sense has gotten much better. I mean, it's not the best, but it's better. My makeup has gotten much better, and now I understand lighting is important whenever taking reference photos into consideration. And instead of natural heavy shadows which you see in traditional oil paintings, I thought it would be really cool to try out some really cool colorful lighting. And a few reference photos later, I settled on this one, which I really love. It has pretty much everything I could ever want for an oil painting. Plus, I look fierce. Alright, so step 1 will be to print out a photo of myself because I am going to do the carbon print method. Yep, here she comes. That little printer has come in handy so much. Next, I'm going to lay down a layer of charcoal all over the printed page. Gonna smear it out, as so. Now I'm going to outline some of the proportions, that way it makes it easier because a majority of my time will be spent on painting and blending and adding shadows, so this is a very minor part to the whole entire painting. I gotta hope it works, and voila, the carbon method. Now the painting is gonna look scary for the first few minutes of this video. I'm sorry, I can't help it. You guys know, like, underpaintings just look really creepy. And something that always happened to me in school is I would be working on the beginning stages of a drawing and somebody would come up to me and be like, "Let me see what you're working on." And I would show them and you could tell they got that look like, "Eesh, that looks terrible." And it's like, no, come back in like 2 hours. I swear I'm actually an okay artist. It's just the beginning stages. And at that point they're like, yeah, sure. And this is the same energy, just looks bad in the beginning. Now, in the painting, I actually made a humongous mistake that wasn't initially a mistake, but that it turned into a mistake, and I spent the rest of the painting just trying to cover it up, and it's right here, boom. So in the reference photo / carbon print, I was holding up the lighting in a very unnatural way, which I put on the canvas. And so when I started painting it, it looked very unnatural, like I had a humpback or like an extra appendage, or it just did not look right. So I tried to be sly, you know, add a little bit of white to lighten up that weird appendage, which it ultimately mixed with the purple underneath it, and I ended up with Grimace from McDonald's on my shoulder. And it single-handedly changed how I was gonna move forward with the painting, with the background, with pretty much everything. Now, most of my painting has a lot of purple and a lot of red, so according to color theory, the color that should go in the background would be a yellow or an orange, but the yellow I had was, how do I put this? It was busted. So instead, I chose to go with a beautiful turquoise for the background, and it kind of matches with like the whole vaporwave aesthetic, which I really, really love. And plus, another added benefit is that I could cover up and mix and blend that turquoise with that purple spot, so you would never know that I made this giant third appendage on my back. Now on to my favorite part of the whole entire painting process. This is where I can just unwind and let loose, and that's where I add drips to my paintings. If you've seen any of my other oil painting videos, that's kind of like been my whole entire thing this year, is add drips to the painting. I think it looks so cool, so slick, and it just adds like an interesting element. Now, if you're an old viewer, or you've seen some of my videos before, just by my voice, I'm sure you guys can tell that I am sick. And so I had to take about 3 days off from this painting to just like be on the couch dying. But honestly, it was good because it gave the painting some time to dry, let everything settle, and I was able to, boom, add in more highlight, add in more texture, add in more contrast, add in more everything. I really wanted this painting to have more oomph to it, to be a little bit more saturated, a little bit more interesting, and that includes that hot pink. It's not the most opaque around, so I had to go in with a lot of layers. And one thing I would have never ever done back in 2010 is try to go over and refix a completed, already done part of the drawing. Like for example, this eye. I would have just left it wonky because I would have been afraid that I would have messed it up, you know. But now I'm like fearless. If I'm not happy with it, I'm gonna repaint it and re-go over it however many times it takes. And same with the face. I was not happy with it, and so I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna add in way more color, way more red, way more yellow, and just amp it up, and you know, we'll see what happens. What happens, happens, baby. And then also, one last minute, I decided that instead of going in with black, why don't I go in with like a vibrant electric blue? I feel like that would look so much more visually interesting than, you know, just plain black. It adds an extra depth, extra element, and it kind of goes again with that vaporwave aesthetic. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my self-portrait from 2010 versus 2019/2020. And this was the second only other time in my life that I ever painted myself. And this represents me so closely. If I could put my personality into a painting, I definitely feel like this is it, with the pop of hot pink, with the blue, with the side cut, with my makeup, red lip, we got the drips, and it's just, I added so many little details to it to just represent my personality, and you know, in another 10 years, we'll see where it takes me, where this art thing goes. It would be an understatement to say that it has been a crazy decade. I have changed so much, mentally, physically, spiritually, so many ways I have changed, but I'm so glad to have you guys here along the way. And to quote myself from an old video, Happy New Year's, everybody! I hope you guys have an amazing decade coming up, and I hope this video inspires you to never give up on something, because you never know where it's going to take you. So anyway guys, I love you guys so much, and I will see you next video. Bye!